A new year, a new iceberg. Last year we took a look at some of the most unhinged facts, theories, and elements of the entire Fallout franchise in the Unhinged Fallout Iceberg. This year we'll be taking a closer look at one of the most popular Fallout titles, Fallout New Vegas, in this New Vegas-inspired iceberg. Welcome to Tier 1 of Nort's Fallout New Vegas Iceberg. This iceberg covers plenty of well-known and obscure New Vegas theories, facts, cut content, themes, and more. Without further ado, let's go over the tip of the iceberg. The Lake Mead Monster. The maybe unfortunate part is that because we're only at the first tier of this iceberg, meaning this tier covers the most common or well-known aspects of New Vegas, many of these entries are things that I've mentioned before, some even somewhat recently. This first entry is just that. But don't worry, I've done my best to add plenty of other topics that I've yet to cover as well. After completing the Boomer's Quest Volaire, a strange news report can be heard on Radio New Vegas. Mr. New Vegas remarks that witnesses report a huge object or creature surfacing in Lake Mead. So far, photos of the so-called Lake Mead monster are grainy and underexposed. After spending a few minutes searching for such an unknown creature, one will quickly realize that Mr. New Vegas is simply referring to the old B-29 bomber that the courier helped raise from the lake's depths. The Lake Mead monster that Wastelanders claim to have seen is simply a very old flying machine. Now, what if I told you that the Lake Mead monster is real? Not real in New Vegas, but real in real life. For a long while, there have been plenty of rumors and myths surrounding what is actually at the bottom of Lake Mead. A ghost town, a crashed plane, a 17-foot-long catfish. 2 of the 3 happen to be true. Lake Mead is a man-made lake or reservoir created during the construction of the Hoover Dam and covers parts of both Nevada and Arizona. Now, once upon a time, before the existence of Lake Mead, there used to be a town in its spot, St. Thomas. Founded in 1865, St. Thomas was a small town of farmers, miners, and businessmen. The construction of the Hoover Dam in the 1930s forced the town to be abandoned as Lake Mead filled with water, so that covers the ghost town rumors. As for the plane, on July 1st, 1948, a B-29 Super Fortress, the last of its kind, crashed into Lake Mead. As the plane was testing a prototype missile guidance system at the time of the crash, the details of the flight, its mission, and crash were kept classified for 50 years. After declassification, a private dive team managed to find the crashed plane in 2001. And nowadays, in 2024, people can purchase guided scuba tours of the crash. So that's neat. As for the big catfish, I think that was just a rumor to keep kids out of the lake. Or is it? Graveyard Whispers. Another well-known theory, mystery, what have you, are the many whispers found at the graveyards of New Vegas. Whether it be Good Springs, Nellis, Camp Forlorn Hope, or Bitter Springs, fans have reported hearing ghastly whispers whenever they travel through these locations. And while these voices have been debunked as simply being part of the game's ambient soundtrack, it doesn't stop them from being quite unsettling. However, a lesser talked about aspect of New Vegas's ambient soundtrack are all the other unsettling voices that can be found. Turn off your music and radio and just listen to the environment. It's quite unsettling. For example, at the Gomorrah Hotel and Casino, one can often hear the sounds of 2 people going at it. The Casa Madrid apartments in West Side have these same noises. In Freeside, one can hear a woman screaming and bottles breaking. Cassidy Caravan's wreckage has weird noises, Black Mountain has thunder, Lone Wolf Radio has static, and so forth. The entire ambient soundtrack is quite unsettling, not just the ghost whispers. Deathclaw Promontory. I know for a fact that I've yet to mention this location in any of my videos. The Deathclaw Promontory is an unmarked location in the Mojave. It can be found east of the Lucky Gym Mine. Now, while the location is infested with deathclaws, the location's loot makes the headache of fighting a bunch of Deathclaws well worth it. Found on a pair of not-so-lucky prospectors is a set of Remnant's power armor and T-51B power armor. This is the only location that a courier can get a set of Remnant's power armor without completing Arcade Ganon's companion quest. Is it worth it to face up to 36 Deathclaws for 2 sets of power armor and 2 energy rifles? Probably not, but I think the implication of the 2 prospectors is quite interesting. Despite being given the name of Prospector, what would seem to be an Enclave soldier and a Brotherhood of Steel Knight, mortal enemies, are both culled by a family of Deathclaws. The conflict of man matters very little to the hazards of the wasteland. Power armor training. On a slightly related note, New Vegas continues the trend from Fallout 3 of requiring a special perk to adorn a set of power armor. Upon completing the Brotherhood quest, Still in the Dark, or Arcade's quest for Old Lang Syne, the courier will be granted formal power armor training, allowing them to become proficient with the suits. However, what is truly bizarre about this perk is that the courier is the only character in the game that needs a special perk to equip power armor. Companions can be given power armor to wear, and even other random NPCs, if given, can equip power armor. For all the otherworldly and special traits and powers the courier has, proficiency with power armor is not one of them. Boons' soul-crushing shot. Here's a fun little theory that's all but confirmed. Boone is a character filled with tragedy. As a former member of the NCR's 1st Recon, he was eyewitness to the massacre at Bitter Springs, leaving the NCR for good following the incident. Broken, Boone found a new hope in his life when he met his future wife Carla on the Strip. The pair would settle in Novak. Things were good for a while. That is until a group of Legion slavers snuck into Novak and kidnapped the pregnant Carla. Determined to find her and the assailants, Boone tracked the slavers to a Legion outpost near the Colorado River. After realizing the outpost was swarming with legionaries, Boone was left with a single option. Boone would mercy kill his wife, unwilling to put her and his baby through the torment the Legion was known for. Now, while it is never confirmed in Boone's story, Cottonwood Cove is a Legion outpost near the Colorado River, and near Cottonwood Cove is a location known as the Sniper's Nest, with a clear vantage point to the Legion base below. At the Sniper's Nest is a unique sniper rifle, the Gobi Campaign Scout Rifle. With this, it's not too tough to come to the conclusion that Boone used this location to conduct his heartbreaking mission. Big Mountain Monsters. The Big Mountain Research and Development Center was a state-of-the-art research facility that housed some of the greatest pre-war minds America could offer. With a near-limitless supply of brainpower and funding, those at the Big Empty manufactured a wide array of products, from advanced trauma suits to the most advanced 3D printer anyone has ever seen. One notable division of the Big Empty was their bioengineering section. It would be in these labs that scientists would craft a pair of familiar Mojave monsters, the Cazador and the Night Stalker. What were 2 genetically modified and spliced creatures that were birthed from before the nuclear bombs dropped had managed to escape their confines at the Big Empty and go on to populate much of the Mojave. Unidentified flying object. As one travels north of the Horowitz farmstead, the courier will happen upon what appears to be an unidentified flying object, a UFO. Near the crashed vessel, 3 aliens are encountered, one carrying the infamous alien blaster. As aliens have appeared or have been mentioned in all previous Fallout games, it should be unsurprising that New Vegas continues the trend, even if it's only as a wild wasteland encounter. The Survivalist. The Survivalist, or Randall Clark, or the Father in the Caves, is a character that can be found in the New Vegas add-on Honest Hearts. His story is primarily told through terminal entries and logs scattered throughout Zion Canyon. Clark was a former soldier in the United States Army who found himself in Zion National Park at the start of the Great War. Clark managed to survive the initial destruction and, after grieving the loss of his family, set out about surviving and helping others survive, notably a group of 24 children. With Clark's unknowing help, the group of kids would go on to form the Sorrows tribe, viewing Clark, the father in the cave, as their mythical protector. Throughout the terminal entries, players learn about Clark's efforts to protect the Sorrows from various threats. He provided them with supplies, knowledge, and guidance to survive in the harsh post-apocalyptic environment. His story is one of self-sacrifice and the struggle to maintain hope in a world devastated by war. Clark's tale, although unseen and unexperienced by the player firsthand, is one of Honest Hearts and Fallout's best stories. Don't ask, don't tell. While never explicitly mentioned in Fallout New Vegas, the in-game lore suggests that both the New California Republic and Caesar's Legion take a don't ask, don't tell mentality in regards to homosexuality within their ranks. The NCR, being a more democratic and generally progressive faction in the Fallout universe, is implied to be more accepting of diversity, including sexual orientation. As much is said by Major Knight in the Mojave Outpost. However, despite the NCR's stance that they're more concerned with a soldier's ability to do their job than with their personal life, Knight remains hesitant to be more open when on the Mojave frontier. While Knight does maintain that the NCR is more accepting back west, the Mojave is a little less tolerant. Knight wishes things were different, but it takes time. On the other hand, Caesar's Legion, being a totalitarian and authoritarian regime, has a much more rigid and conservative stance on matters like homosexuality. According to Jimmy, a former Legion slave found working at the Casa Madrid apartments, Caesar punishes homosexuality with death and forces his men to meet a mandated child quota. Despite these harsh and outdated views on the matter, Veronica is also noted as stating that the Legion mount their soldiers as much as they mount their women, implying that relations between men are quite common, despite the cruel punishment for being caught. In real life, the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy was a US military policy in place from 1993 to 2011 under the Clinton administration. The policy was implemented as a compromise to allow all citizens to serve in the military regardless of their sexual orientation. The policy allowed for gay and lesbian individuals to serve in the military as long as they did not openly disclose their sexual orientation, and it prohibited superiors from investigating a service member's orientation. In 2011, the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy would be repealed by the Obama administration. The Fallout universe often draws inspiration from real-world history and societal issues, and the portrayal of some factions in New Vegas reflect some of the complexities surrounding real-life societal attitudes towards issues like sexuality in the armed forces. Gojira. Although Gojira doesn't technically exist in-game, it is still one of my favorite creatures in New Vegas. Gojira is a giant fire gecko that can only be found within the files of the game. It is quite large, being roughly the size of a super mutant behemoth. It is also incredibly strong, being no doubt the toughest enemy in all of New Vegas. Its unique attack, Gojira Flame, deals a base 400 damage and has a 3200 damage over time effect. This, coupled with its 8,000 hit points, makes Gojira no match for almost anything the Wasteland has to offer. Now, of course, such a beast was never actually meant to appear in-game. The existence of Gojira in New Vegas was to provide a bit of entertainment to one of the game's developers as they watched it terrorize Camp McCarran. Those poor soldiers. Almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter. Protectron Brothers. Here's a weird one to think about. Primslim is the pre-war Vicky and Vance Casino official spokesbot Protectron. Its job is to give visitors to the casino near limitless knowledge about the star-crossed criminals the casino is named after. Fisto, or Fully Integrated Security Technotronic Officer, is a security protectron found in the ruins of Cerulean Robotics. Now, because both robots are protectrons, both made by the same parent company, Robco Industries, and are both found in the Mojave, it's possible that, technically, Primslim and Fisto are brothers. or at least brothers by robot standards. Can robots even have siblings? Who knows? But life's more fun when a cowpoke protectron and a sexbot protectron are assumed to be siblings. Big Iron. Big Iron by Marty Robbins is a 1959 country ballad that can often be heard on any of the New Vegas radio stations. The song tells a story of conflict between a lawman and a notorious outlaw named Texas Red. It's a catchy tune that perfectly fits the setting of New Vegas. But what's incredible about Big Iron is that its inclusion in the game's soundtrack has led it to becoming a meme on the internet. There are plenty of image macros and TikTok videos that feature the 60-year-old song. This internet subculture surrounding such an old song can be attributed to the 2010 release of Fallout New Vegas, and possibly a bug. You see, Radio New Vegas intended to have the song Stars of the Midnight Range, but an error actually linked the entry in the radio tracklist to the MP3 file for Big Iron, causing the song to be played twice as often as any other track, and occasionally can be heard twice in a row. The sheer frequency of hearing Big Iron paved the way for the meme, and the rest is history. Johnny Guitar. In a similar vein, the 1954 song Johnny Guitar by Peggy Lee experienced the same bug, being played more frequently than any other New Vegas song. However, instead of Johnny Guitar becoming a beloved song and meme like Big Iron, the song went in the opposite direction, probably becoming the most hated song in the entirety of the New Vegas soundtrack. Mr. New Vegas heard Peggy sing "Play It Again," and he said bet. Deck of cards. Included in the collector's edition of Fallout New Vegas was a deck of New Vegas-themed playing cards. The front of the cards had notable characters from the game. Spades were Freeside characters, clubs are Kaisar's Legion members, hearts are NCR affiliates, and diamonds are Strip residents. The two jokers are the Courier and Benny. Each card had an associated quote along with the character, and the backs were random locations from Vault 21 to Bison Steve. They were a neat little collectible with a lot of thematic ties to New Vegas. Now, between the card suits, the characters and values share some common themes. For example, the king of each suit is a high-profile character. Spades is the king, hearts is President Kimball, diamonds is Mr. House, and clubs is Kaisar. The ace of each suit is a secondary leader. Spades is Pacer, hearts is General Oliver, diamonds is Nero, and clubs is Legate Lanius. The twos always feature a pair of characters. Spades is the Garrett twins, hearts is Boone and Manny, diamonds is Marilyn and Jane, and clubs is Dead Sea and Alexis. You can tell that there was definitely some thought put into each card. I just wish that I had my own deck. Vault 13 Canteen. Back when Fallout New Vegas first released, there was a pre-order bonus exclusive at EB Games, GameStop, and other regional video game shops that gave the players access to a few extra items at the start of the game. It was called the Classic Pack. The Classic Pack included items from, you guessed it, the classic games. This included an armored Vault 13 jumpsuit, a weathered 10mm pistol, ammo stim packs, and the coveted Vault 13 Canteen. Of these items, the Canteen was quite easily the most sought after. Weapons and armor can be replaced, a unique and endless healing item cannot. Once in the inventory of the player, they will take a sip from the Canteen every 5 minutes, healing 15 HP and lowering dehydration in hardcore mode. It's quite a nutty item to have at all times. Now, of course, as of now, by purchasing either the Courier Stash or by having the New Vegas Ultimate Edition, one is also given the Classic Pack and Canteen. No longer is one of the most unique and slightly annoying items in the game locked behind a pre-order exclusive. Vera Key's Ghoul. Vera Keys is an enchanting starlet that unknowingly played a key role in how the Sierra Madre Resort and Casino came to be. Frederick Sinclair, a wealthy businessman, worshipped Vera and built the Sierra Madre as both a testament to his love and as a shelter for the both of them should the resource wars get too dicey. And what do you know, it did. When the bombs dropped, the casino's automated security locked its doors, leaving Vera trapped in her room. 200 years later, in an attempt to activate the resort's gala event, the courier happens upon the skeletal remains of Miss Keys. But did you know that these skeletal remains weren't the first iteration of the starlet? Found in the files of dead money is a more ghoulish Vera that was intended to be her corpse instead. However, I'd imagine that after some realization that a ghoul corpse wouldn't remain intact for over 200 years, the devs opted for a more skeletal appearance instead, still adorned with her iconic dress, of course. The strongest enemy. New Vegas has some pretty wicked combat encounters. Deathclaw nests, Cazador hordes, Lanius, or Ulysses, for example. But the strongest enemy in the entirety of New Vegas is some random Bloatfly. Found in the Big Empty's mysterious cave, the legendary Bloatfly is an absolute menace. Stat-wise, the legendary Bloatfly has twice the hit points of Legate Lanius. Its melee attack deals double the X-42 giant Roboscorpion's melee attack, and it can shoot a plasma bolt at you. It's deadly. But even outside of stats, it's quite freakish. It flies higher than any normal Bloatflies, making it harder to attack with melee weapons, and it has the Martyrdom perk, exploding on death. In a world where giant robots, freakish mutants, and hardened combat veterans are trying to kill you, sometimes it's really just a big fly that'll do you in. The bomb plot. Despite it having its own quest, How Little We Know, I feel as though this aspect of the lore doesn't get a significant amount of attention. Similar to Benny, the Omerta family was attempting to stage a coup to take control of the Strip over Mr. House. Unlike Benny, the Omertas were operating with help from Kaiser's Legion and planned to massacre the entirety of the Strip. During the How Little We Know side quest, the courier gets involved with the Omerta's racket plot. The quest has two outcomes: overthrow Omerta leadership or help them. If one chooses to help Big Sal and Nero, then the bomb plot goes through, coinciding with the game's finale, the second battle of the Hoover Dam. If one tunes their radio to the NCR emergency radio during the assault on the dam, one will hear a report about an attack on the Strip. The report states that the Omertas are using some kind of gas to kill everyone in the casinos on the Strip. A massive gas attack takes many innocent lives, and yet it's not even mentioned in the ending slides. We will never know what came about after the Omerta's plot, and where exactly the family stands in the event the Legion takes the Strip. Though if I had to guess, I'd wager that the Omertas would find themselves subjugated and assimilated into the Legion. A new companion. Ulysses is the primary antagonist of Lonesome Road, who is foreshadowed several times throughout the base game and other DLCs. But did you know that the former Frumentarius was originally intended to be a companion in the base game of Fallout New Vegas? Many have critiqued this change as without Ulysses, the New Vegas companions lack someone that would gladly side with the Legion. The intention with the companion version of Ulysses was to be very involved in the Legion-NCR conflict, better explain the goals of the Legion, and maintain his cryptic storytelling nature that we commonly see throughout the DLCs. However, at some point late in the development of New Vegas, the team realized that Ulysses' many accolades and metaphors took up too much disk space. Ulysses was way too big. Josh Sawyer said it was 2 or 3 times greater than the next most vocal companion, with upwards of 1,500 dialogue nodes. And by the time this realization was made, it would be too late to trim down the voice lines without gutting what made Ulysses a compelling character. It was more practical to tear him out than to rework him. And so Ulysses the Companion was cut from the game. Though when people purchased New Vegas Collector's Edition and popped open their shiny playing cards, they were still met with a strange 3 of clubs. A character that was not in the game. Avalon would tease a future Ulysses appearance during an interview shortly following the release of New Vegas, saying maybe he'll come back at some point. The first DLC in which Ulysses was mentioned, Dead Money, would be released the next month. The Horse Mystery. I've spoken about the horse problem or mystery a few times already on this channel. I think it's always a good thing to bring it up whenever possible because it sheds some light on the differences of what is actually in the game and the lore within the universe of the game. The mounted NCR soldier in the New Vegas Allroads comic started quite the debate in regards to the existence of horses in the Fallout universe. While we know for certain that at one point they did exist, as evident by all the horse imagery found across the wastelands, it's uncertain if they've since become extinct or not. But in 2022, when asked why there are no horses in Fallout, senior designer for New Vegas Chris Avallone had this to say: "There might be, somewhere." And while he expands on this answer by offering resource limitations and unaccounted technology changes in the environment, it's something else he mentions that stood out to me. Avallone describes a Bethesda presentation about environmental storytelling. The level designer giving the presentation describes a sample location where it looks like a motorcyclist went over a ramp, crashing their bike. It was a funny and cool location for the player to happen upon, but something was wrong. The location subconsciously implied to the player that motorcycles could be fixed and ridden in Fallout, but they can't. And so the sample location merely teased something cool, but denied the player from experiencing it. Horses pose a similar problem. Had the existence of horses been confirmed, players would lose focus on all the other cool things that you can do in New Vegas, and instead be wondering when they can ride their own horse. So, do horses exist in lore? Probably. Will we ever get to ride a horse, motorcycle, drive a car, or fly a vertibird? Maybe when the technology improves. But for now, we just have to hoof it ourselves. And that rounds out Tier 1 of the New Vegas Iceberg. While we did go over some duplicate entries from past icebergs or covered topics from other videos of mine, I hope there was enough new theories, facts, and trivia that you've yet to hear. Stay tuned for Tier 2 next week. That's all from me today, folks. If you liked the video, be sure to like and share, join the Discord. Have a good rest of your day. Cheers.
Caesar asked us to provide a distraction on the strip, so when he gives the word, we're going to launch an all-out assault on the strip. First, we're going to blow the embassy, then we're going to use soldiers to kill every last motherfucker on the strip. Then we'll run this joint. That'll teach Not at Home what can go on while he sits in his fucking ivory tower lording down from on high. The fuck? I knew there had to be someone higher up helping you. Nero, you backstabbing, two-timing motherfucker. I knew this day would come. I'm here!